Very unique and creative demo last year, turning vegetables. He
was drinking before the
still, it's all kinds of creative juices going in my mind. So.
We still cleaning up from that, or?
I am begging to come back.
we may have you back and do that again. That was pretty cool. But Jim is an extremely creative turner. Really thinks out of the box. He's an inventor. He's well known in the AAW. He's been on the national stage doing national demonstrations for the AAW Symposium. Very active for many years as president and engaged with the Greensboro Club and a real supporter and promoter of woodturning. So with that, Jim is going to do a demo tonight on trash to treasures using recycled materials and some in line with his creative ventures again. So without further ado, Jim Duxbury.
Better this Tuesday than last Tuesday. I was the only one here. Anyway, first off, I have to introduce my wife, Rita, who is my right hand. You'll hear a remark every now and then from over in this corner. Best friend, worst critic, and we love doing demos. We've done them all over the country, dozens of them. In fact, demoing for woodturners is kind of fun, you know, that they're all on your side and that sort of thing. We did one, you never want to do a nursing home. We did a nursing home. Those people don't play punches, they say it like it is. It wasn't wood turning, we just joked. I do kaleidoscopes too, I make all kinds of kaleidoscopes. And we thought it'd be nice to show these people, because you know, a lot of them don't have anybody to talk to, whatever. So we got with the nursing home people and got maybe 40 or 50 around a big circle there. Wheelchairs and canes and walkers and stuff piled all over the place. And start this demo. And of course, most of them are hard of hearing too, so nobody whispers in the back of the room, you know. You start explaining kaleidoscopes, and somebody says, well, where's the clicker? Ma, did you see the clicker? I want to watch TV. It goes on. We've done some great demos. I love doing this. You hold the kaleidoscope and there was probably 6 orderlies and we had a dozen kaleidoscopes. They take them around and you say, oh, here, look in the little hole and turn this. And some look in there, and it was great. A lot of them had a great time. But then there were other ones. You won't look in that little hole. Look in that little hole, it's really nice. I don't want to look in that little hole.
One lady wanted to bowl.
In the middle of the whole thing, they got swinging doors. Somebody blasts through the door. What's he doing here? What's this guy? I don't want to see this guy. Aren't we having bowling today? It's a rough group. Rita gets dragged through all these things. She doesn't do too much turning. She's getting better. But it's a lot of fun. And for you beginners especially, these classes that Alan teaches and they have in here are worth their weight in gold. It gets you started right, and you don't build up too many bad habits you can't get over, and it just saves you oodles of time and money in the long run. I really recommend that. And along that same order, I'm going to do trash for treasures tonight, and then I'll explain. I made a chandelier, and also, if I have time, I'll show you how to do a burning wire. But one of the things I've noticed is with all these tools, especially beginners, you've got to learn how to sharpen every tool. Everyone's a different shape, different size, and if you have a dull tool, you can't use a dull table saw, a dull kitchen knife, a dull lawnmower. It doesn't work, and it doesn't work especially in wood turning. You've got to learn to sharpen this. You've got to do it every so often. But each one of them also has a different configuration. And one of the things I've seen absolutely used wrong many times lately is this. This is called, by professionals. In fact, one of the big wood-turning demonstrations in Asheville, the guy picked this up and used it on a faceplate turner. And it is absolutely not done. And there's reasons for that. This is a gouge, and a bowl gouge is very similar. They come in different sizes. This is a 3/8. The size of that flute is very small. And the size of the shaft that goes in this handle is full size. If you get a catch in this, it's going to tear it out of your hand or something, but it's not going to break. This thing is a roughing gouge. There's two kinds of turning. Bowl turning, where the grain goes across, or faceplate turning, where the grain goes across the piece of wood. Or spindle turning, where the grain goes with the wood. This is a spindle roughing gouge only. It has huge ears on it, and it has a very small tang that goes into the handle. If you stick this in a bowl and it catches, it breaks that off. And I have never seen it done, but I've heard it does a flip and hits in the chest.
Or you get a smiley face in your forehead or a frown on your forehead.
I can't imagine. I've been hurt on things.
Then you're lucky and it goes over your right shoulder.
I'll tell you, I saw a professional in Asheville put a piece in a lathe that was, I don't know, 16 inches in diameter and face it off with this thing. And if that would have caught, I'll tell you. Anyway.
Even if it didn't have a small tang, if that
Oh,
gets caught,
it's
going to flee out of your
yeah.
hand or hit you in the head with a handle or something.
Won't help the wood any either.
There's no. Yeah, you'll heal up. The wood's shot. Anyway, there's two configurations here. There's a straight on both sides and a round in the bottom. The round in the bottom, if you had a block of wood like this, and you were going to make a groove in it, you wouldn't use the straight side, you'd use the round side. And you do the same with this. You use the round side to rough this out. When you get all done and you want to smooth it out, you turn this to the side and use the straight side. It's just like a skew chisel. You can hold it at an angle or do whatever you want with it. I drive with the old tailstock center. They make all kinds of these things. I don't use ears on this when I drive. It'll stop. You're not going to get hurt with it, usually. Use the bottom of this. You put the tool in until it touches here. Make sure it's on the tool rest. Make sure it touches here. You bring it up until it starts cutting right there. That's where you want to be. And you don't move your arms around. If you're turning the cylinder, you rock it. You lock the tool into the side. Nice and round. When you get done, roll it on its side and do a planing cut. And it's nice and smooth. In the old days when you turned table legs, also you didn't have time to mess around and put tenons on things and change tools. When you were doing this for a living, you got paid by so many pieces that went in the finish pile. If you mess the piece up, you put it in this other pile, you can take that home and heat your house with it. And you pay for the piece out of what you made on this stuff. So if you're going to feed your family with this thing, you got to know how to use it. If you want to put a tenon on something, you roll it over and you can place it. A square tenon in there. This does all kinds of things in spindle work. Don't ever use it in faceplate. Any questions on that? Also, in the old days, I learned this from Ernie Cotto, who was a good friend, and these guys used to make their living doing this. They had this was not a bearing. This had a generator just like this, and and it just burned in the end of the wood. But you worked out the jack shaft that went to a steam engine out in the other building somewhere, and you could actually turn your lathe off if you got over there, push belts and whatever else. But when you were done, you would just crank this off, and the next piece was the same size. You would put it on this end first, line it up here, and it'll actually sit there. I mean, if you wanted to look at your work, then you tighten it up. Anyway, that's just at no extra cost. Okay, tonight we're going to do transfer traders. These are
most people, when they're doing that, they really ought to turn their machine off before they're doing stuff like that.
No, you didn't turn your machine off in those days.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Today you
But today for people that are just,
if I'm doing a dozen pieces and they're all the same, I do it. That's the center I use, and that's the old tailstock center. This has an adjustable point in it. And for most things, I bring the point way back. You don't need that big point. But, did everybody see that? You want me to pass it around? Okay.
It's even better if you can match up the tail and drive to the same circle, that you can flip it around and you can
Yeah.
their exact match.
Oh.
You do that? You know, I could have just brought you 2 chucks. That would have been easier than that.
Another thing I have to do is thank Alan publicly for bringing half his shop. When I work on one way, I don't have anything that fits. No, I like to get my own stuff, but for a lot of reasons. With you, it's not bad. We ask other people to bring things, they bring the chuck and not the key or something, you know. Also, as I do this, I'm going to show this chuck has silver jaws on it. This is another article I've done. This is a template for the silver jaws. I have more than one chuck. Don't say it.
Many.
But do you have enough?
This is, there we go. I got another whole set of templates. This is the smallest tenon that chuck will grab. Oh, there's the old over here. That's the smallest tenon this chuck will grab. This is the largest tenon that chuck will grab.
Inside. That takes all the fun out of it.
This is the smallest socket that chuck will go into. And this is the largest socket that chuck will go into. So when I'm turning a tenon, I want to make sure it's between this and this. When you've got more than one chuck. This chuck has green jaws on it. It does all kinds of things. I do yellow, white, black, red, all kinds of things.
If you're colorblind, you're out of luck.
What I'm going to do tonight is turn, this is just a throwaway bottle. I can't imagine what we had to eat to get this bottle. But, we eat all kinds of
White asparagus.
white asparagus. Don't kill me white. Anyway, we shop by the shape of bottles. Big loss.
You buy wine that way too?
Huh? You take the cap. I make wine bottle stopper. That's more fun. Anyway, the cap, once you get done, I'll show how to do this, but you size it, go to the cap in there, and then you've got a bottle. And I use all kinds of things. I'll pass these around. They got a couple different sizes and shapes. Put stuff in them for like Christmas and I don't know how many bottles we recycled. They come in all different shapes and sizes. You can't imagine some of the jams you've never
Expect to have this candy up.
Yeah. It's made from all different kinds of pieces glued together. I've got probably a bigger one would be better to show here. These are just different shaped pieces that you've got kicking around. You can tell neatness counts. It's kind of smeared up. One of the things I found is when you want to glue a bunch of little layers together and you want them half lined up, drill a hole in the top of maybe about 3/8 of an inch in, and stick a dowel in there, and drill a hole in the center of each one of these, put glue on them, and then smash it down, and they all stay together. It's really helpful.
As long as you get the hole in the center.
As long as you get the hole in the center. If you don't, by the time you get done, it's going to be there.
Right.
I can pass a couple of these around. You end up, you don't throw anything away. You either make a pen out of it or a flower stuff.
Return to your
See what a different shape. Some are long and skinny. You never know. Oh, here's a little one. Those are really neat. You don't have to eat quite as much jelly.
Is this kind of?
What? Yeah.
It's easier to grip that way.
I can do this.
Somebody's going to ask what kind of finish I use.
I can do this.
Never mind. The way I do this usually is, no matter what shape this is, I sandwich it against the chuck and then turn a tenon on this end. Then I'm going to grab this in the chuck and turn it around. I'll face this off and put a socket in here. And then I can turn this around, put it on this, and turn this whole thing.
This would be a good thing for people with arthritis.
But,
For arthritis people.
oh, that could be. For a lot of things, you don't have to mount them. You don't have to have centers in it. You just sandwich it against there, put enough pressure on it, and not sweat. So. That's pretty brown. I always wear a face shield too. I can't talk and wave my arms around with a face shield. Just often wear a respirator too. Or aspirator. A face shield, glasses protect your eyes, and they're great. If something huge or large comes off of here, or a knot comes out of something, it hits your glasses, and the only thing holding the glasses on your face is the bridge of your nose. Okay? So you're going to get a broken nose or something at best. Goggles help because they disperse the impact around your face. A face shield's $20 or $25. Get a good one and live it. It has a whole band across the top, and it has it could hit your chin and whatever. It's still not a football helmet, but if you need it, it's nice to have. I'm going to just rough this out, just on the end of it. I usually burn much faster than this, but not too bad. You want a nice square shoulder here. And never bottom the chuck out. You want a nice square shoulder on here. Use a 1/4-inch cube, lay it flat. That's pretty good.
Jim, did you grind this?
What?
Did you grind this?
No, it's just been worn that way. No, I'm gonna switch.
Is that what you
No.
usually use, a one-way?
Yeah, this is what I use.
All right, is it a one-way?
This is a power mat.
Oh, okay. Do you know what the size of that cup is on that?
This?
Yeah.
3/4 10.
Yeah, that's the threads,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, the
But
cup itself?
Yeah.
You mean the taper on it? The taper on it?
Yeah, because if you're trying to match the headstock drive to the same size as the tailstock, you
Oh, I see.
buy your tailstock, and then where would you find
Oh.
proper headstock to match?
I wouldn't worry about that. Just so they're pinned, just so it's a pin like that. That's all you have to say. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. It's kind of small, so you have to. I've got a shoulder on here. You don't worry about putting this all the way in. The chuck has got to register against that shoulder. And that's what holds things in. You never bottom a chuck on anything. The router. A lot of people turn this and tighten the other side. Wood compresses. And if you just stay on one side and turn it again, it'll compress again. If you let it sit there the length of time to turn it, it'll compress again. And you can do that all day. People think the chuck bends. And there's no two people in this room going to bend the ring in that chuck. You tear the handle off the chuck key first. Anyway, there's a lot of fun in this. To start with, I've got this on there's a small tenon. And just to be safe, I'm going to put this tailstock center up here and rough this down so it's like a
He learned that.
Always check and see that it's
I thought I had it against the biggest piece, but one of these veneers is sticking out.
You know that basically when you spin it by hand before you turn the leg off. It's such a familiar sound.
You could test it with the roughing gout.
Only in demos you do that. Take your time. Rough it out. Remember, when you're doing a spindle, you turn from the small end up. You're coming up through this thing, so you turn from the bottom up.
Different.
They're all different grains, but they're all
Some wood is hard.
perpendicular. This is really slow. This is painful. I'm in the middle.
Jim,
That's okay. I'll be
James, I mean, it's obvious to me, but you might want to explain why you said that about the bottom up when you're turning faceplate like this. I usually carry for the beginners a pack of straws that have been balanced. Yeah, you got to.
In spindle work, the grain's going this way. If you had a jackknife and you were going to cut, you're going to shave this, you would go downhill. You'd go with the grain. And if you tried to go the other way, you're ripping the grain out and you're going to tear something out. So you always go downhill on spindle work. You start up here, and maybe if you're putting a groove in, you work your way to the center this way, and you come and work your way to the center this way. When you start turning on the end of this thing, it's different because when you're turning this way, the grain's going straight up and down. And you want to cut it this way. You want to cut from the small end up. On the bowl, you rough from the center to the bottom of the bowl up. And it just cuts better.
The fibers you haven't cut are supporting the fibers you're cutting.
The fibers, yeah, that you're cutting are supported by the fibers in back. Then it comes up.
That's what it does.
So, next thing is,
I find beginners.
this is turning, what, 1100 or 1200 something like that.
Top speed of the middle pull is 1800.
Okay. You always take the tailstock out when you're not using it so you don't get the point in the back of your elbow.
All the time.
It only happens in demos too. To hold my little lathe, for spindle turning, I use a Delta lathe that's been reworked. Turns about, I can get it up to about 7,200 RPM. To turn a pen at like 5,000 RPM is just a dream. You don't hardly have to sand it, it's just forming in front of your face. Anyway, I'm going to tweak this off. 7,000 is too fast for anything. But there are other things where it's kind of nice, or clean it off. going to make this fit this jar. This is a Smucker's. Smucker's makes pretty good jelly.
Blueberry jelly.
Blueberry jelly, I can attest to that. Calipers are, first off, there's two kinds of wood turners. Some turn artwork, one of a kind, and they advertise that this is unique, one of a kind. The other one turns architectural or precision, and you can make 6 of those that match. When you start making things that match or have to fit inside each other, you don't use eyeball to eyeball. You start using one of these, in fact, you live with the thing almost. Anything that fits in here, this is the OD of whatever you're going to do. When you lock this, this is the ID of the hole that thing would fit into. This is the depth of that same dimension. So if you want to measure the depth of something. I'm going to make this fit this lid. These are never round anyway. So you don't have to be real careful. I'm going to hold this in that piece and strike a little arc, a line, and I'm going to move it back and forth until I see it line up with this other side. And then I know that that's the size I want. When I get to the size I want, I press it in a little bit, and that's where I want to be. Don't ever touch this other one. You only touch this one. Now go straight in. Now, as far as the depth goes, you want this whole lid to fit inside that socket. So you're actually you could go this way. And that's the depth that you want this thing to be. And I can see I'm about, oh man, I'm not even halfway there.
You could go past that too, right?
Yeah, you could go past that a little bit. I'm going to put this in here just so I can get this over with a little faster. Doesn't have to be exact. You can go over or whatever, but whew. Good.
That's a deep job.
Most demonstrators check their work and they bring, like this, they would bring a better piece of wood. This is koa at the bottom. That isn't too bad. But that's from Hawaii. But they would bring a bottle, with a real short lid on it.
Yeah.
You can tell I don't do that. Get up there and learn. Shops that people have sold chocolates for 100 years because they have a project a million times. And you have the right size wood and it's all straight grain. And
Oh, you mean demo work?
yeah, the demo work. The guy in 2 minutes makes a picture frame or a coffee table or something.
They rarely demonstrate from the lathe to the table saw, from the table saw back to the lathe, because that's a few more extra steps.
Oh, sorry.
Table,
A little center knob on it now. You make a pretty good living if you could sell these for about $75 a piece. You only get about 10.
Yeah, you're never gonna sell that. We know that.
No, I put those in for, to give you more glue surface area. And usually that fits right in there.
You don't leave the jar on like a turning.
No, it started. I didn't go square in and out.
Actually, that's a good idea in case it gets stuck.
Yeah.
So you're going to sand this to about 2,000 before you put that in there?
You got it. See, that'll get glued in.
Perfect.
Later. So now you would round this off and do whatever you want down here.
What kind of glue are you using to hold the lid in there?
That I use D6000. It's like a silicone. You get it at Hobby Lobby or something. It's kind of neat. I don't like gluing metal to wood. That's a silicone rubberized. It really works nice. And then I would sand it. Get it kind of nice and smooth. Almost double your sandpaper. You'll learn that real quick, actually. Just burn your hand. And keep moving because the surface temperature can actually break the wood. It's hot on the outside, and you can actually break the wood. So this first part is koa. The next one is black walnut, wangi, maple, cherry. And that's a pressure dyed birch, I think, and then oak on the end. Okay. chuck, so this is really nice if you have more than one lathe. You can have the chuck on different size chucks on different lathe.
A lathe for every chuck?
And we have a couple of those.
I think that's what one way says you're supposed to.
I put this in here to expand.
The manual. One-way salesman.
Be careful, you know.
Yeah, be careful you don't break this. You're expanding into it. Also, it should hit the center here. Got that number 3 months. That's a monster. And you can use that until you finish the very top, just to be safe. It's kind of nice. It lets you get to look at it a little bit and kind of pick out your design. Don't forget this lid goes up to about here. So don't start thinning things out below. Guess how I know that?
Somebody told you.
Yeah.
Read it in a
I like to get Wangy's a beautiful wood. It's very expensive and it's miserable. More and more dead stuff, which makes it gorgeous. I'll just pick this up. There's no wangy because by the time you pick the board up and walk to the table, so you've got 2 slivers in your hand. I'm going to clean this little white part out here. When you cut on the end of the tool, that's cutting action. When you turn the tool on its side, that's scraping. Sometimes, in some conditions, that really works. If you notice on most of these things, I've got burn lines here and there. And a burn line not only is a black line that's almost instant, it covers the glue joint. So don't put the burn on the glue joint because as it starts burning, it'll go right in. Put it right next to the joint, and then the burn will cover that. I use a point scraper, which is just a pointed tool, simple grind. It just puts a little dimple in there. You can sharpen the end of a nail if you don't have one of these. I'll put one on both sides of this, and I'll put one up here. I'm going to show burning wires later. This is just a piece of copper wire with a couple of handles on it. Worked for 3 or 4 years. Number 14 wire. This was when you're too lazy to make the handles, you just tie a knot in the end of the insulation, strip the middle, and
hope for the best.
Works just as good, I think. Bring your lathe up as fast as you can get it. Lay that in the groove. In about 2 minutes, I'll say that they got smoke detectors in there. Don't touch that wire. You can see from that it's, I use a kind of a rough piece of sandpaper here. When you sand around it, shape your sandpaper to whatever you're sanding, because this is cutting. And if you start rubbing a detail with this, it's not shaped, you're going to take the detail out, and it looks terrible. You can ruin a turning real quick with a piece of sandpaper. The more you have to sand it, the worse, the more that you have to have it shaped just right, because it has to.
When I want to put a black line on a curved surface, like where the wire would tend to just fall out,
Yeah.
I use the mic wire.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can use Formica. It melts, but one of the nice things of Formica is it's free. You go to the lumberyard and get it. When I do a curved surface, I curve part of it. Around here. I do part of it, and then I take my tool and put a nick in here. Do the burn. You gotta have a pretty good nick in there. It has to hold the wire. Not like home. And then once you've got the burn wherever you're going to do it, I could have done it down further, but then you can start right at the burn and keep the radius going. Anyway, you get the idea. You're all done. The dyed wood is going to be done. You buy that from it comes from Vermont. Some of these guys make buy it in big slabs, and they make gun stocks and things out of it. When you talk to them, that big attention. Anyway, you get the idea. It doesn't have to be.
Your tree example that you have in here, did you use just a parting tool?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember when you're taking it off, you have to tighten this. Because if you turn it the other way, it's not going to do it when you're just starting, but when you're all done. Good. Now, usually lacquer it. Before you put it on, lacquer it. You can sign it, but nobody's ever going to see it.
Hopefully.
That's what it's what I figured that out. That's what it's supposed to look like. They go for about $10 or something. It uses up all your scrap.
You have to put the ante in it when you're selling it?
No,
Cuts into the
we had
product.
all kinds of things in it. Okay, let's take a break away.
They were smart.
Well, as soon as everybody calms down, he'll get back to it.
Again. Like I said, there's two kinds of wood turners. Some turn molds of unique objects, the other ones turn massive pieces.
Where? Sure.
Above everybody.
I'm going to get to this chandelier thing. This is when you have to turn 5 pieces that match or whatever. And they have to match exact. My wife's traveled all over the world. She finally talked me into going outside of the borders. And I went to Italy. And not kicking and screaming, but anyway. Reluctant. And these old buildings and whatever. But, you know, it just changes your life. There's some of the most gorgeous things. We deal in Woodturners. When you get over there, you see cathedrals. Also, things around here are made, 200 years old is ancient history. 200 years old is like yesterday's new building. I mean, we don't even talk about 500 years old. Everything is 1,000 years. You stand in these cathedrals, and there's people walk in and take pictures and say, oh, this is really neat, and they go out. And you're standing next to a 7-foot diameter granite pillar that's perfectly round, 50, 55 feet high. And there's 40 of them in the room. They're all standing on the end of a stone arch. That takes one heck of a day. I mean, even Terry Brown can't do that. I don't know how they did that, or got it there, or stood it on end, but
I think it was segmented.
you can't. No, I checked. It's one piece. Off the coast of Venice itself, you could spend a month just looking at buildings. Just your mouth, you just drool when you see that stuff. And many of you probably aren't woodworkers, but when you book match something, you cut it in half, and when you open it up, it matches on both sides. The grain matches. They did that with stone, and the stone has like a piece of stone this big with a white feature down here. When you cut it in half and open it up, that white feature's on both sides, and it kind of radiates out. But then if you look real close, they cut it in half the other way and rotated it down the other way. And that thing becomes a star. And how you cut a slab of stone with your bare hands is beyond me. I don't know.
Damn aliens back
They
then.
did that. They did it at the time of Christ and things. They were doing things that were beyond words. Off the coast of Venice is a small island, Murano. Murano, for some reason, they do glass. I don't know what they...
I know the reason, but I won't go into
Okay.
history.
Anyway, they do all kinds of glass work, and I never even liked glass and blown glass and that sort of thing. But there's building after building, 3 stories high, full of glass. Oh, anything you can imagine made out of glass. From this big around to the size of your car. It's everything you can imagine. And I just fell in love with these damn big chandeliers. It was just gorgeous. And they start out this big and they go to, 10 feet in diameter. They're humongous, great big things. And I thought if I buy one of these and get home, and one piece is broken, it's shot, you know, you're done. So on the way home, I thought, you know, I could make that thing out of wood. So you got about 8 hours of sitting on that plane.
Well, we saw how they were handling the boxes that other people had purchased, and they were throwing them from the boat onto the dock and just heaving them. And I just knew we weren't going to get one home.
The guy, when he sells it, he says, we package it so you can play football with it. And when you go out and see him loading, it's almost that bad. If he misses one, he bounces around the grass and throws it out. Anyway, I got to start the sketching and things, and drew the thing up. I thought, that isn't too bad. I think I can make that. When I can do AutoCAD, and that's fun to do, but when I do artwork or something that I'm trying different designs, I do it by hand. And you can tell I use my drawings. It's just not a fine piece that you keep in the drawer. I take this out and scale it and make the thing from it. And every piece is designed. When you first start the design, don't worry about how you're going to make it or what it's going to be. You want the design. Draw anything you want, and then worry about how to make it. If you do it the other way around, you restrict yourself too much. You've got to just design anything, put it on paper, then analyze it. And then you take every piece and analyze it. I was asked about these spinnacles here or whatever. I was going to make these curls out of one piece of wood. You can't bend them like that. I don't think you can bend wood like that. But if we make it out of one piece of wood, it's going to have short grain across there somewhere, and it'll break. And by doing it in 3 pieces, I can put a piece of trim in the middle. And then you make a copy of this drawing. You glue these up the size of this. You make a copy of that drawing and spray it with a contact adhesive and stick it on the block of wood and saw it out on the bandsaw. And then sand it, and I put the round edges on. I use a Dremel tool. Dremel makes a little base on their tool. You put that in a vise, and you've got a real small router table, and you can buy their little about 1/8-inch round cutters or something, and you can just hold it and buzz around there. It works really nice. And that would take you 3 or 4 days to do that. The piece in the center here, this is made to fit in my truck. I got a lid on the back of my truck, okay?
Well, you weren't supposed to design that.
Yeah. When you get done, you think, how am I going to get this anywhere? This bottom drops off. The bottom was a bowl that I cored 3 or 4 years ago. And is it better without the lights? Can you see it better?
Yeah.
No, maybe it needs
It wasn't a funnel that you made 3 or 4 years ago?
Where's the dimmer?
Yeah. These are LED bulbs, and it's the only kind that won't dim. This piece here was a bowl that I cored out years ago, and when I got it all done, I popped the core and it split the bottom. And I couldn't throw it away, and it was perfect for this. I put a finial on the bottom, it worked perfect. So when you put inside here a flat plate, there's a board with across in here, a piece of plywood that everything's mounted onto. In fact, I could drop this off and you could see it.
Hey, Mike.
Here's my drum motor.
Mike, could you bring the lights up? The overhead?
When you put a, oh, I cleared the box. Yeah. That's okay. Anyway, this drops off and all the wiring's underneath there. If this gets hung, I'll probably add about a 3-inch section in the bottom and extend this up to give it more of the chandelier effect. Right now it fits in my truck. It's got a lid on it, and this bolts into that box. And I had to make this side to make it all work. you also don't have a place to hang it, you know, when you're in a symposium or something, so I had to make a stand to fit it and whatever else. When you put a piece of plywood, a disc, inside a bowl, that bowl is going to change. And you don't realize it, but if you make that thing fit, you're going to break the bowl, hands down. So you've got to have some place. In fact, I had this out in my shop, and I went to put that bowl on to come here, and it's got a couple spots that bowl changed shapes, and it would almost go on, and I don't want almost, I want it to fit on loose. There's 4 screws go in here, and then this whole bottom drops off. These pieces here are actually a circle that's turned and then cut in half and moved over. So they're made in 3 pieces. There's just like this. You would glue the cherry to the maple, mount that in the lathe, turn the exterior of it, and turn the groove for the wire in the maple. Then you glue the top on without getting glue in that race, and turn the whole thing. I show how to turn it. There'll be an article, I think it's coming out in a British magazine, the British Woodturning magazine, but I show how to turn this. And then there's actually in the, they can see this thing or not.
Yep.
Can you see this? This shows the wire coming through here, and in the joint here, there's a pipe nipple, electrical pipe nipple, just like you have up the center of the thing, epoxied into both pieces for strength. This trim ring is just a trim ring for it. When you go to make a piece like this that you want precision and you wanted a bunch of them, you take 5 blocks of wood, the size that would make that piece. You get nice pieces that are straight grain, whatever. Turn a tenon on the bottom so that you've got a place to grab it. And then you go like the height of this. Usually what I do is drill a hole down through the middle. Whatever size I can get, like this I can clean it out. That defines the center. Then cut the block off so it's right at this point here. Take that off. Then come in just under this lip to whatever dimension that is. And you take those calipers that I had and you scale them and put it on there. There's different points marked on here. You turn in to here, you turn into here. This point here is defined. You mark that on the end of your block. And with that defined, all you have to do is round the end off and round this into here, and you've got the whole center defined. You do that on every piece. I put a mark in here between jaws 1 and 4 on my chuck. On everything I do, there's a mark in there between jaws 1 and 4. Then you can almost always put it back in the same place. Do that on every piece, just one operation. Then go to the next piece, do the next operation. And when you cut like down to here, you can actually part that whole thing off. And once you cut this down and got the right dimensions, all you have to do is round them out to those points, and you've got the piece. But do a couple of those before you don't do the whole thing and then try to match the next one, because it doesn't work. Maybe somebody can do it, but I can't. Any questions on that sort of thing? You got to take your time and do one step at a time.
You do all 4 each time.
5, yeah. This isn't like bowl turning, you know, if you get a catch or notch falls out, something happens, you make it a little short, you don't do that. Get another block of wood to start over.
That's no fun.
They've got to match. The center's fluted. I've got a shopsmith with a router. I've got a I hate that shop smith. I've been going to throw it out so many times. It does so many things that nothing else will do. It's a horizontal drill. It does all kinds of things. Anyway, I can flute with that. There again, I can use the Dremel tool, but I use the it's like a Ford flexible shaft, and it's held in a jig that slides back and forth. And
On your shop smith, you do that?
yeah. When the piece is mounted, I turn it to whatever shape I want. And then on the bed of the cutting tool would look like this, with a cutter on the end of it. And it sits on a stand, comes down like this with a point on it. Like that. This point, I make a template of the shape that I want. And that point, when I push this up against here, that point hits this. And then I set the depth of my cut to wherever this runs in and out. So that no matter what shape this is, when I get done, I've got the right shape grooves in here. You understand that? You could have brought something, no. Anyway, it takes a couple hundred hours and you get all done. Don't put it together and try to finish it. If you're going to glue this to this, put masking tape across here, a little circle of masking tape, a little circle of masking tape underneath, and then finish the piece. When you go to put it together, everything's finished. If you start trying to finish, it's just too much work. Any questions?
How do you get your curve on your curve tool? You tuck it in something or pin it?
No, you cut it on a bandsaw. You glue the three pieces together.
How do you get it to curve?
That's how you cut it out. It's a flat block of wood. Then you make a copy of this on a copy machine.
Okay.
If your wife works at the library, that's how she does love to do it. But anyway, I got more. Each one of these has got a different copy, and they stick it on and then saw it out.
We've got the only pickup truck with a chandelier in the bed.
What?
You've got the only pickup truck with a chandelier in the bed.
Yeah. When you go making these things, before you make that little circle in there, go look at your drum sander, and don't make it so it just about fits. Make it so it fits that drum sander. It's going to save you a lot of time. Just some tips. I learned all this stuff the hard way. And,
How do you justify designing to
yeah, design.
It's been in the box and in the truck.
I got 20 minutes. Okay, I got a lot of time. Any questions on that? Somebody asked me if I had plans, but that's the only plan. And it's about a shot. But anyway, maybe we can know about that. One of the things I'd like to show is I like to make my own tools. And I showed you this. This is the evolution of wire burners. That's the original one with the insulation on the end. And this is the next one. It has nice blocks of ash with a drywall screw in the top of each one. And this works fine. You can get a lot of pressure with this thing. You got to put a lot of pressure on it, especially some pieces. It'll break right at the screw almost every time. So that's a real problem, especially when you're in a hurry. I found the best way to do this is to drill the hole all the way through the block and stick the wire all the way through and then put a screw in the back end of it. That way it just bends on here and this lasts forever. Also, Rita's brother's a guitar player who sent me all these guitar strings. And I tried one, and darn, he works nice. They also, on some woods, they'll hum. Yeah. Anyway, I'll show how to make that thing. It doesn't take long. but these guitar strings, guitar players throw them away, I guess, every so often. And they come in all different shapes and sizes. I've passed these around a couple of them. They're actually nichrome wire. There's all different kinds of wire. Some have like a brass, but they're like wound. It's not just a flat wire. I don't know how they're made, but I suppose a bass viol or something would have maybe even better. I don't know.
Does it have a tendency to soften the wood?
No. No.
There's one, the little narrow one, that was.
Yeah. This narrow eye, this is real small, and you can use this like on pens, but you've got to watch. That'll cut the wood. You can go right through it.
It's also very good for cheese.
Yeah, that's
I don't even have handles on my dryer.
This is what they look like. I'll pass one of these around. I'll make one of these real quick. I usually use that. Kind of like it. You check it up. Just grab it anywhere. Square pieces look nice to use. You don't have to, but I like to face it off, and I got the whole thing done before I get going too far. This is just a tool. You can do what you want with it, but it doesn't have to be gorgeous if you don't like it. But also, face it off. I like to put a dimple in so that the drill bit picks up. I'm going to use a starter bit, but if you put a dimple in here, just a 1/4 inch screw. I use this thing for everything. I love this little tool. Put a little dimple in there. That's all right. You don't have to do this, but how do we get that out of there?
Okay. Here you go.
Oh, you're great.
I'll go get it out.
Thank you, Alan. I don't know what I do without Alan. I can the nicest part of one way is the color. I like the color.
He just painted his Powermatic with Jim's way.
It's still yellow, but we ever used airbrushes? Did they ever use airbrushes? Yeah, you can have a all of I had a bunch of friends. I think we should have an airbrush. That would be a good demo. Airbrushing is really terrific.
We have to ride home afterwards, though.
Yeah. I hired the instructor from the college, and he came to my shop, and we had a ball. I got 6 people or something. We just had a great time. Because none of us we didn't know how to plug the thing in. Anyway, this is called a starter bit. It's a big, heavy thing that you can use it to start the hole, and it gets things lined up, and you can run it a little further. That will countersink it right away too. So you're all set once you do that. Then you got to drill all the way through. You can put a drill bit in here, which I do sometimes, I put my drill bit, this is an aircraft drill. I put it in a handle. I use it for all kinds of things. Anyway, you just push it in there, knock it off quite a bit. And theoretically, it goes right down the center. You know, demo will probably come out the side. It's directly proportional to the amount of pitch of the block of wood. There's a lot to it. So that's drilled out. I'll be, see that? Only happens in demos. You do about 6 or 8 of those at least. And then meet Alan.
Those are harder to get out.
You make you know.
We might have to redo it.
Don't worry, it's good.
It's not on why. We didn't want this finish.
I don't think it's going to come off on the hoops. When I do a bunch of these,
Oh, you need back? You want these gloves? What has one?
oh, fantastic. When I think of this,
I don't have to do
thanks,
that.
Alan.
I don't have to do that.
Thanks, Alan.
I know how to do that.
It's winky. It's winky. It's in oh my goodness, right? Down this pink.
Anyway, you do about 8 or 10 of those before you get into this operation while you're all set up. And then when something's got a hole in both ends of it, like this, I like to turn it with a point center. This is just a if you don't have one of those, you can actually make it your own out of wood, and it works just as well, maybe even better. That's how I use that. That's just a number 2 Morse paper. Stick it right in the hole. Here again, when you've got 6 or 8 of these, you don't even have to turn the lathe off. You can just unscrew this. It'll do the same thing. This is a smaller run we got. This is a 1/8. It has the same configuration, but I use the other one because it's more staggered. You can see it better. Turn it slower, tell it around and just hold your tool up there as the bounces and stuff. I like to put a groove in just at the full end of it where you get your fingers in to grab a hold of it. Makes it much easier. But bring the side up. So again, you always work from the top down. So I'm going to put a groove in the center of this. I'll work from this side. Or whatever you and this is the trap because I show 3 burns on the thing and you're making the burn wire so it can't be done, right? Anyway. The outside 2 burns, this is good for all kinds of hands. If you put lines on here, you're going to mess it up every time. The outside 2 are here. You just pick those points. Then go to the exact center, which is right there, and put that in there. And if you want 5 burns, you go to the center of those, and center of that. Okay? If you put 5 lines on there, it's going to be enough, believe me. All you use though, hand loose. Burning something the different diameter, always start with the biggest diameter, because that'll heat your wire faster. Then go to the smaller diameter with the hot wire. Stand it up a little bit. I like to use wax. Screw a block of wood to the top of your wax can. You don't need a screwdriver.
I see it all now.
You can do it long enough to figure this stuff out.
I can't ever find the screwdriver when I go to open up the wax, so that was worth it all right there.
You've been there, huh? Okay.
That's all you know. And then I drop it.
I don't know, I have a piece of wire. This is what the wire comes in. This is a 42 gauge or something. I think a whole set of guitar strings is, I don't know, $4, $26.
$20.
20 bucks? No.
No, for the whole set of
Yeah, all 6 of them.
Oh, okay.
But just find a guitarist, they have plenty of broken ones.
Yeah.
I got about a half a dozen.
That's exactly.
Anyway, stick the wire down through until it comes out the bottom, or almost comes out the bottom. And then take a, 1 inch, I use a 1 inch drywall screw, and screw it in there.
All the threads grab the wire. All the threads grab the wire.
Yeah, they just grabbed and I want to put it in all the way.
That's why you want to select the braid.
A 532 hole with any size wire works pretty good. So. Any questions?
You don't have a wooden handle on your screwdriver?
Huh?
You don't have a wooden handle on your screwdriver?
Not yet. Okay. Well, thanks again. Go burn some.
Where did you get that starter bit?
Ooh, I don't know. It's really nice. Leaf Valley, I guess.
Oh, I thought he was dropping them.
Centering bits.
You'd already been
Yeah,
there.
they used to drill into these tailstone holes and pellet.
Oh.
That's why it's changed. So the 60-degree center to go into the hole.
Really? What do they put in it?
They're used on a wood, a metal turret to drill the hole to put the tailstone.
Oh, I see.
That's why.
Yeah,
that's the 16.
okay. But that's probably the same thing as this. I bet it is. It is.
Should be a 63.
Yeah. The tailstock on a metal lathe is a 60 degree, and this would drill a hole and put the 60-degree taper in the middle. We just use it for a counter thing. But they come in different sizes, and being so beefy, it starts the hole right. And if you make big pens, you ever make big pens, that sort of thing, you have to drill. You take a 3/4 inch piece. You got a 3/4 by 3/4. You put it in here, and you drill almost the length of that drill bit. And if you're in a hurry, it doesn't work at all. But take your time.
Or if you have the lathe in reverse.
Or there were these aircraft drills are really nice too. I got this in Greensboro. I can't remember the name of the place, but they come in like 14, 16 inches or something. They're real long. I had to cut it off because it's too flexible. But I mounted. There's probably about 3 inches in the handle. And I've got, oh, I don't know how many, 4 or 5 of these things at least in different shapes. And I just pick them up rather than put it in a chuck. I just run it in and out of there. Woodturners out of precision is metal.
One for every lathe and every chuck.
You got it. You got it. You still can't
Instead of putting the bit in the tailstock, you just hold it with your hand.
just hold it in your hand, yeah. You actually, you don't even have to start it. Sometimes in a demo it would never work, but usually if you kind of line this up, it'll start to point in the center. You can just push it in there. But if it starts wrong, it exaggerates it as it goes through. And when you're up here kind of looking at it intelligent, it never works. It's not a known science. Okay? So go burn some lines and things, and it works in bowls. It trims like the bottom of your bowl where you come down, put a little foot, and you put a burn around there. It puts a black ring, and it kind of makes it invisible. It kind of sits up above it or something like that. But it's real quick, and you texture something. You put a little groove on both sides of the texture, then you burn it. You got a band with a texture in the middle. Ladies are very good woodturners. They're very good woodturners. So, any questions? Other questions? Go burn some lines.
Good job.